and welcome to another episode of Witch Hat Chat, sponsored by Evermoving We Rise and Moonlight Potions and Charms. I am your amazing goddess host, Miss Nikki Kirby, and we have our fabulous, our famous, he is so worldly wide famous now. His name is Saul Ravencraft. How are you doing, Saul?
I am fantastic, Nikki. How are you doing today?
I am great. You know, over the weekend, this last Memorial weekend has been a thing for education, I say. Because, okay, so everybody knows that I own Moonlight Potions and Charms, and we were expecting some oil bottles coming from Amazon. And so I look on my app Saturday and it says, oh, they were here. So I was like, okay. So I walked down, got out of my house, looked around, couldn't find the package anywhere, walked down to the mailbox, and this is what I saw. So show them what I saw. Boom. Look at that. That is what they did to my mailbox. And they had stuffed the packaging so tightly, and they had moved it. They had to have moved it like this really, really bad. And when it fell, the package was already in there too. So I was lucky that the package was packed very, very well. Otherwise, all of my bottles would have been broken, but not a bottle one was broken. So I decided to contact Amazon. Whoa, that one is a tricky thing. Because when you go into Amazon, you say contact Amazon. Well, what do? They give you all these articles for you to look at. Not a phone number, not an email address, not a chat. And you have to go through all these articles just to get to a chat. And then it has to be the auto robot chat. And so it asks you, what can I help you with today? And I said, Amazon destroyed my mailbox. And it said, well, would you like to look at another mailbox? I'm like, no, I want to talk to a customer representative. So it took me about 30 minutes with the little robot to get somebody to actually have a conversation or a chat with, because they're not doing phone calls for some reason. Right. So I'm like, okay. And I told him what had happened, and I gave him all the information, the tracking information, the order information. And I also sent him a picture. And he's like, are you sure that we did it? Or did USPS do it? I said, I don't know who did it. I said, I know that it wasn't my USPS normal girl that would have done that. She would have brought the package up on the stairs. That's where she would have laid it. And he's like, well, Amazon will get back with you in 2 days. He didn't say 2 business days. So I have yet to hear from them. But I was like, when I walked down to the edge of the driveway and I looked at that, I'm like, you have got to be shitting me. I mean, really, would you not have said that, Saul?
Yeah, no, it's interesting what goes on with all the delivery, and we're really consuming delivery pretty heavily at this point, and we put some strong demands on delivery. I mean, part of it is the companies have promised it, and so we expect it. But also we're not real tolerant when things become complicated. We get really upset if a delivery gets missed, and so I'm gonna.
One thing about this there.
We're not really tolerant if our delivery gets inconvenienced in some way. And so the companies are just doing everything they can think of, just grabbing hold of random yahoos to do the deliveries, who don't really have the training and don't necessarily have experience with dealing with the stress of having to deliver all those things and quickly. And so it gets pretty messy, and hopefully someone will deal with your problem, because that definitely is something that should be dealt with. But I don't know how we get better on this. Maybe drone deliveries are the answer. We'll see where it ends up.
Yeah, you know, drones are going to take over the world.
Oh, they already have, I'm sure. I am sure.
So how was your weekend?
It was not bad. We went, had a visit with my folks, and I didn't take my laptop or anything. Just pretty much made it a full-on break. But anytime I visit with my parents, it has certain challenges with it. So it was a nice little break, but not exactly a vacation. But pleasant enough. How about you? Did you get any extra time for yourself this weekend?
Well, I did create some oils, which were wonderful, and we did do the new moon ritual as well, and that was brilliant. We actually did a money mojo bag. So that was a very beautiful ritual, and we just had such a good time. And that was pretty much it.
Well, it sounds like plenty.
Oh, yeah. All right. So you want to know what our divination is for today?
Always.
All right. So get ready for this. All right, so people know that I drink a positive energy tea by Yogi, and no, they're not paying me to say this. I wish they would. That would be nice, but they're not. So we have their intentions is always on their little tea thing. So what we do is we take them as divinations for the day. So today's divination is: your life is based on the capacity of energy in you, not outside you. Ooh. So Saul Ravencraft, what's some insight on that?
Well, I think we talk a lot on this program about the idea of power coming from within, and that we're in harmony with what's external, but what's external is not necessarily what drives our outcomes. And I think this really reflects on that, as above, so below, as within, as without. Everything's got to radiate from within. And if you're not stoking your own fire, then you're not going to be very successful at moving things outside of yourself either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's just like we say, everything begins with you. You have to be the one to initiate the magic. You have to be the one to gather everything you need. You have to be the one to figure out the intention. You have to be the one to start things, because things are not going to start just, because, like, for example, like I tell people, if you do a money spell and just blow out a candle and that's your money spell and you don't do anything else, I'm sorry, but money is not going to fall from the sky. That would be nice if it did. But in order for a money spell to work, there's certain actions that you have to take. And like I said, everything begins with you, because the magic actually comes from you. So yeah, I think that was a good divination for today.
Sure.
All right. And so I know you got so many things going on.
Well, there are some things going on. Not very many of them are public facing. This is a little bit of a dip in some of the public activities. Uh, but I'm still at Curia Arcanum's House of Curiosities on Thursdays, and we are broadcasting from there at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So you're always welcome to tune in to that. And I do gallery readings during that, so it's an opportunity to get a feel for what my readings are like. I'm also still doing Ravencraft's Vault of Horror on the second week of the month, Monday at Mr. Tramp's pub in North Central Austin, and Wednesday at Doc's Drive-In, where we put everything on the big giant screen. And this in June, our screening is going to be The Hunger, sexy 80s vampires with David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Code name is The Bloody Sheik. And I'm still available for private consultations and private events. I've got a few of those that are happening that I would invite you if I could, but I can't because it's private. But I can do something for your private event, either in person or virtually.
That's right. And I'm so glad that you're reopening the drive-ins, because all of them around me have closed down.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't even have those anymore. I remember going to the drive-in as a teenager, and you had like 8 kids in a car, and some of them actually got into the trunk all to go into, you see, one movie. That was what, like $5-6 or something like that for the car to go into. It was just a really good experience being able to see it on a bigger screen than what you would if you were in a theater.
Right.
Unfortunately, if it was raining, you had to be in the rain, and if it was hot, you had to be in the heat. So that's the only thing you couldn't change.
Well, they've got their screens built onto stacked cargo containers. So they've actually stacked these big metal cargo containers on top of each other and built the screen onto them. So they're extremely sturdy and extremely weather proof. So it's just and all of the audio, they have speakers that are broadcasting out from the screen, but they also have a local radio broadcast, so you can just tune your car radio in to the audio band that they give you for that screen, and you get the audio out of your wonderful car stereo system. So much better than the little window speaker thing that they used to do.
Because you had to take that thing, you had to put it up on your car and make sure it was sturdy, and sometimes it was screwed up.
And sometimes you'd forget and drive off with it.
Right. Oh, yeah. I remember all of those good times. All right. So, Moonlight Potions and Charms, like I said, we are celebrating because we have 5-star reviews, and we're so very thankful and grateful that we're able to, help so many people, and people love our products and they love our services. Dorothy Morrison, she is an absolute fantastic witch and angel. And she loves my Marie Laveau Altar on the Go. So she thinks it's absolutely amazing. And it's jam-packed with everything one could possibly need, no matter what sort of magic they're planning. And she's like, kudos on a good product. So I really, truly appreciate that. That's just one of the many, many, many reviews that we've been getting. So we've also got really good readings. Our ancestor readings are the bomb because basically we help you to convey messages from your ancestors, as well as try to help you determine where do you need to kind of focus on things when it comes to your ancestors. It's an amazing, amazing review. Plus, we have our magical coaching and we have our new products and everything, not to mention our Phoenix Crossroads Academy. And of course, our feature class is the first degree fire of Evermoving We Rise. And that has got to do with shadow work. Not only do we teach magical theory, we also teach the practical side as well as field magic and so much more. It's an absolute wonderful program to be a part of. So if you want to go to there, go to www.moonlightpotionscharms.com. All that information is in our summary, as well as with Evermoving We Rise. Our two next rituals that are coming up is Midsummer, and that is for June 19th. So I'm really excited about that, as well as the Dark Moon is June 27th. So both of those begin at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can find that information on our Facebook page. And I'm going to be speaking at the Mystic South Conference, which is July 15th through the 17th in Atlanta, Georgia. And my two workshops are going to be Shining the Light on Coffin Boxes. And that is something that I'm really looking forward to teaching, because a lot of times people don't understand what it means to have a coffin box. What can you do with a coffin box? Everybody thinks coffin boxes are just for cursing. No, we can do a lot other things with that. And so I will be teaching a lot on that, including the coffin box theories and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to teaching that one. And then we're going to have tools used in communication with your ancestors. So I'm going to teach you the tools that you already have and how to be able to communicate with your ancestors, especially if you can't see them or hear them. Don't worry, it's not that big of a deal. They have ways of showing you what they need for you to understand. So I'll be giving you a little quick course on that. And all that information is also in our summary. So Saul and I, on that same weekend of July 15th through the 17th, will be doing the Witchsfest USA. And I'm going to be teaching on Friday the backdoor cursing, which I'm looking forward to, because a lot of people are like, "Ooh, backdoor cursing, what is that?" That's cursing that you can do and it doesn't come back on you. Awesome. So I'm looking forward to doing that one. As well as on Sunday, I'll be doing the creative magical use of dolls. So we're going to see all different ways of us being able to use dolls, and including what they're called and so much more. So Saul, what are you going to be doing?
Well, I'm doing two presentations. One of them is Careful What You Wish For, the path from pessimist to practitioner, which is going to talk about my own journey of being someone who was very skeptical to someone who's the kind of person who could co-host Witch Hat Chats. But I'll also be talking about the unusual nature of this journey and the ways in which some of the practices, some of the skills, some of the things that you want to encounter on this path can be a little elusive, and that it's an evolution that occurs, which may be helpful to people that perhaps are a little impatient or don't feel like they're connecting with some things the ways that they want to. The second presentation is called Intention, Will, and Follow-Through, using the basic elements of magic. And this gets down into the basic concepts of thaumaturgy, Let's see.
It's a
Where?
third. Now you got me screwed up on it.
Yeah.
Thirdigy.
Yeah.
Thirdigy.
So this deals with the basic concepts of thaumaturgy, the fundamental aspects of magic and spell casting and all of that sort of thing. And I think that once you have a clear understanding of how a ritual is designed and what goes into a ritual, that you're much more empowered to design your own magic for your own needs. And so this will be examining those fundamentals, which then you can look at through whatever the lens is for your own practice. And hopefully it will make you feel stronger and not like one of those people that goes into the online chats and says, I'm trying to do this thing. Can anyone point me to a spell? Tell me what to do. All right, that we can just be our own little witches and wizards and make things go the way we need them to go. Knowing that we are applying the principles in the right way. So that is those are what I'm doing. I'm really looking forward to it.
And also tell what we have in store for some special winners.
Well, we do have a sign up, a raffle of sorts, where if you sign up, there is a link in our resources, wherever they are for you, and all you have to do is sign up with your name and your email, one entry per person, and you'll be entered to win. And there are 2 tickets to be given away. Each one is a $95 value. So if you'd like to be in on that, just click the link, enter your information, and you are in. Now, if you know that you want to be a part of this, and I hope you recognize this is going to be an amazing event over 3 days of education and connection with fellow practitioners. It is worth $95 easily. That's less than $40 a day, and it about $33 a day, right? You can't get a decent meal for less than that, and you can just go to the website, get your ticket, and you're in. And that is that's coming up, and we don't want you to miss out on that. So enter to win, but consider just getting your ticket.
Yep. And also, Saul and I are also available if you like to have a private session with us as well. We can do it via Zoom. So just let us know. Absolutely. All right. So today we're going to have a topic, and our topic is adversity. So Saul, when you think of adversity, what do you think of?
Well, gosh, there's so many types of adversity that people experience. I think fundamentally it is stuff that gets in the way of you living your best life. And there are some things that are just obstacles, challenges, our own shadow work that needs to be dealt with. But sometimes we deal with actual opposition from people or institutional circumstances, laws, and organizations, individuals that oppose us and create difficulty for us. And sometimes this difficulty is great, like the state of Texas and many others creating laws to limit women's access to healthcare options. And sometimes it's just someone being kind of nasty to you. And I think we can admit that as magical practitioners, we are not the mainstream. We're not normal by many people's
Who
accounting.
wants to be normal?
Oh, I agree. I agree. And some people deal with things that aren't normal by just going, whatever. But some people feel that they need to oppose it, and some people's approach to life demands not only that they are in opposition, but that they confront it. And there you get the kind of things that can get scary. And yet we as practitioners have tools, we have techniques. Some of them are purely social, and some of them are using our craft to do something about that. I will tell you that the answer is probably not punching everyone in the face, even spiritually. And so I'm curious as to some of your background and perspective of dealing with this kind of adversity, and how you have used your spiritual practice to make it better. We're always going to have opposition,
Right.
but we can do it in a way that doesn't slow us down, that doesn't get in our way, that doesn't feed on us.
Right, right. You know, I've had a lot of opposition throughout my entire life, and some, I will admit, I did not handle very well, especially in my younger days, as I had a real high streak for justice and how justice needed to be right. And I remember getting, the first thing I would do was get angry at it, because I'm like, how dare they turn around and tell me what to do with my body, or how dare they tell me what I can believe and what I can't believe, or how dare they damn me to their hell when they have no idea who I am, you know, just because I was a redhead. And being a redhead, yes, we used to get slammed a lot, especially before they finally figured out that redheads are cool. But I mean, I would get bullied at school. I got bullied at home. So I understood what adversity is. And like I said, when I was younger, I had a lot of anger towards that. Because I didn't, to me, it was like, why are you picking on me for? And I always had that like why mentality. I had that victim mentality. And it wasn't until I got much older that I realized that if I didn't look at it as why me, I kind of had that mind shift of how people were going to try to help me instead of everybody being after me. Things actually changed a lot, especially in my magic. My magic got a lot stronger. I believed in myself a lot more. I had more confidence, because I admit, like I said, when I was younger, I didn't handle things the way that really needed to be handled. You know, with bullies, most of the time I got into fights with them, and yes, I always ended up winning. But still, that's not the way of being able to handle things. And I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that we're not really taught how to handle adversity. We're not taught that. We're taught how to, okay, if somebody makes me angry, we just knock them out and keep going. Or either we let them roll over us. It's always one or the other. We're not taught how to sit down, compromise, and value each other first before we can be able to move forward and getting through this little, adversity. No, it's always about divide and conquer. This is the way it's always been, shown. And it's one of those things in which I think that if we start teaching differently, if we start teaching how do we value yourself first, because if you don't value yourself, guess what? Nobody else is. And then how do we value others? For example, Saul, you're different from me. How do I value those differences instead of hating, those differences, whatever those differences may be? How do I start about valuing and appreciating that I'm learning something new instead of being in my conditioned self and saying, no, I don't want to learn anything new. I always want to stay the way I am. And we're not meant to stay the way that we are. We're not meant to. I mean, I am not the same person I was in high school, and I'm sure, Saul, that you're not either.
No, I'm not. And one of the things that I have to bear in mind as well is that what I think of as adversity is pretty poor in comparison to what some other people experience in diversity. I have the tremendous privilege of being a white male in our society. And culturally, my indoctrination of dealing with adversity is to dominate it. That is traditionally what the white male has done, and it's been effective, certainly, but it's had an impact on cultures and ecology and many different things on society. And so the way that I encounter adversity is different than the way other kinds of people encounter adversity and what they have to put up with. There are some people that authority just looks at them and they're automatically in the wrong. And I don't have to deal with that so much, and can't fully understand what it would be like to deal with that on a daily basis, and I have to comprehend that I don't understand. And that doesn't mean that I can't continue to try to be compassionate. It doesn't mean that I can't continue trying to understand and to develop my emotional intelligence on all of that kind of thing. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I'm learning more about what y'all have to put up with, and it's frustrating. And I am so clumsy about trying to communicate about it and try to understand it deeply and to try to show support, because the picture of me is the problem. Right? And so that's all very challenging to me. But on the other hand, I do deal with things that throw me off my track, that make it difficult for me to function in the ways that I want to function and to bring about the things I want to bring about. A lot of it's probably up here, but some of it is external, and like you said, I have a past of dealing with that sort of thing through anger. And I'm getting better at that, but it takes a while to undo those links, and to come up with a different mode, and to consider that maybe even though you feel like you're being pushed on, that may not be what's going on, and how do you take a step back and have your reaction on purpose and with purpose, and do what is the best response instead of what is the most ready response.
Right, because basically you've got two options. You either react or you respond. And responding comes with when you're doing a lot of shadow work, you learn how to respond. So basically what you're doing is you take this deep breath and you take a step back and you try to figure out, where's this person coming from and why am I getting angry over this? Is it worth me getting angry over? If it's yes, then you got to consider what are the possible rewards and consequences that may come from that anger. Or can I take anger and focus it in a different direction? Can I change it into some sort of positive action instead of going out and destroying things? I'm sorry, going out and destroying things and killing people is not a way of dealing with your anger. Okay, it is not a way of doing that. Because when it comes to somebody being confrontational, you got to understand, number one, it's not about you. It's about them, not about you. And that's really hard to take a lot of times. But once you understand that concept, that it's not about you, it gets a lot easier to respond to people. Because it's just to the point where, number one, let me give you an example. Okay, so when I first moved over to California and I met this Black young man, and he asked me, he says, "Are you from the South?" And I said, "Yes, I'm from the South." And he said, "Well, don't you know all Southern people are stupid?" Okay, so, my initial, it was a good thing I knew how to respond to that, because initially I just wanted to punch him, because that is something that is not true. Saul and I are both Southerners and we're not stupid. Okay. But I had to take a step back and take a breath. And then I had to figure out, where is he coming from on this? Because he's never been out of California. This is what he's heard about Californians, just like Southern people think all Californians are hippies, and they're not. So it's one of those, what do they call it? Double standards or prejudicial comments, or, I cannot think of the term right now. So I grinned, and then I said, okay, well, if that is true, then because you happen to be an African American, where I come from, that means that you guys like watermelon and fried chicken. Is that true? And he just took a step back and he looked at me and he's like, "No, that's not true. I don't even like watermelon and I am allergic to chicken." I said, well, you told me that I was stupid because I was a Southerner. And so you're saying now that mine's not true. Well, if mine's not true because you think yours is true, well, then we need to examine. You need to go into a little bit more detail about this. Your skin is Black, so you're not really supposedly a Black person, because according to what my theory was that because you were Black, you had fried chicken and watermelon, but you're telling me that's no. So listen, and we started having a discussion about that, and he realized how ridiculous that I was getting, so ridiculous that he understood how ridiculous he was. And now we're very good friends. We have great conversations, and it was so much better than if I just turned around and had reacted. Because I told him, I said, "Hey, I graduated the top of my master's degree class. So of course I'm not stupid." And he apologized to me and I apologized to him, and we had a really good time. But sometimes you have to go absolutely absurd with what they're saying in order for them to understand how absurd it is.
Well, and
And
sometimes it just doesn't need to be a debate. And
right,
I think that's one of the things that we fall into is we come across someone who doesn't understand, and our impulse is to try and fix that. That we're going to explain in a way and enlighten, and everyone's going to part better than they were before, which is what happened in your friend's case. But that's not always going to happen.
right,
And I think one of the things that we have to be able to do in the face of adversity is to not necessarily confront it. And in this case, it was more personal for you, and you were able to engage in that. But if you're trying to do something and you've got random yahoos just trying to disrupt you, you don't have to stop and take that on necessarily. Sometimes you
right,
got to just recognize the ignorance in it and move on. And that formulating your responses and trying to figure out what's the best way to say, how do I get them on this, is sometimes wasted energy. And it detracts from where you're trying to do. It derails you from what you're trying to do. And sometimes you just have to get out of that communication mode and move on with it.
right.
One of the things that we've heard come up from a couple of people are situations when they're presenting at witchy events, and someone in the audience really wants to turn the presentation onto themselves and talk about why the presenter doesn't know what they're talking about and why they're using the wrong tradition and the wrong methodology and all that. They really had no interest in the topic. All they wanted to do was to grandstand themselves, I guess because they didn't get a speaking slot, so they want to borrow yours. And they just want to be contentious. And this happens, I've seen this kind of thing happen in pretty much any educational situation where someone disagrees with the path that's being presented. And I can see it from both sides. One, the side of the person who has the disagreement, that sees that the person presenting appears to be missing information or presenting information incorrectly. I can see where that would be challenging, and sometimes that does have to be addressed. But many times all that just needs to be taken offline, and you have to have that conversation with that person individually. But I also think about it from the perspective of a presenter, because I have been in situations where I've been doing performances either on the entertainment side or on the educational side, and I've had people that wanna disrupt and present their own ideas instead. And I have to find a way, usually on the spot, to address that person's concern in a way that lets them know that they're not attacked, but we're not going to have this conversation right now. And in a way that doesn't make the rest of the group uncomfortable or use up too much time to take away from the original program. It can be a fine line on all of that, and it takes a lot of practice, and especially what you were talking about, getting past that getting angry, and looking at what is this? What is happening here? What is this person's actual goal? And do I need to just delay that conversation? Do I need to Do I need to address them directly and challenge their statements because I think they're wrong? And it does undo what I'm presenting to ignore that, or are they just lonely? Right? Do they just need a little? Do they need a hug? You had to just get all that on the spot. And of course you're frustrated when you're doing something and someone goes, hey, now wait a minute, you don't know what you're talking about. And how do you do that without the angry side coming up?
Right. And well, right now we have to go to our sponsors, and we will continue this when we come back.
All right. Stuff you got to know.
We are all magical beings. As a solitary magical practitioner, you can grow and develop yourself independently. Yet, the solitary path can be difficult and lonely with setbacks and self-doubts. And as you find your way without affirmations, reinforcements, or a safe space to practice, what do you do when things bump back? At Evermoving We Rise, our name is our lifestyle. We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We teach you to understand and use the magical tools at your fingertips, while being upheld and developing personal responsibility for your own spirituality. We have a safe space to practice and learn as you master your craft. When situations bump back, you will have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Start today. Visit us at our website, Linktree, or Facebook page, and discover why we don't fit in the box. Have you heard? People are raving about Moonlight Potions and Charms with 5-star reviews. 5 stars for excellent products, amazing services, and fast shipping. We are an Etsy star seller. Listen to some of our reviews. Author and owner of Wicked Witch Studios, Dorothy Morrison said, I'm in love. The Marie Laveau altar on the go is absolutely amazing and jam-packed with everything one could possibly need, no matter what sort of magic they're planning. Kudos on a great product. Jess said, absolutely love the Papa Legba prayer candle. I've been hunting for a good Papa Legba candle forever with zero success, and I adore this one. High Priestess said, adorable wooden coffins. Can't wait to use them. And Angelica said about our Ancestor oil, exceeding my expectations. Packaged with love and smells amazing. Definitely recommending and buying again. Make sure to check out our Bubbling Cauldron Bath Bombs, available in Luck of the Irish, Lavender, and Dragon's Blood. Our magical milk baths are also available in Papa Legba Purification, White Flowers, Lucky Love, and Bam Bam. All are homemade and spelled with love, care, and intention. Our Happily Ever After candle line is designed with you in mind. There is so much more in our Wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you. Are you at a crossroads? Not sure which direction to go? Or do you feel powerless? Or is there another question that needs answering? At Moonlight Potions and Charms,
Our many services assist our clients to emerge their authentic selves and embrace the power and magic that lies within them. Many of our readings provide the clarity one needs to pursue their life's destiny. Our soulful readings assist one to discover what is required to be in alignment with one's soul journey. Our tarot readings provide clarity and coaching for those who are at a crossroads in life. Our animal medicine readings show what our animal brothers and sisters can teach you about yourself and your life. Unsure where to start your shadow work? Book a shadow reading. There is so much more in our Wicked store, so visit us at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and embrace the power of your own magic.
I'm Saul Ravencraft, co-host of Witch Hat Chats. I understand just how confusing and chaotic it can be to open to a path of magic and manifestation. Everything seems to turn on its head. I want to be an ally as you find the way upon your path. My studio setup will let us do readings, coaching, and exploration virtually, just as though you were sitting across the table from me. One size does not fit all, and we will work together to craft the right approaches to build your practice, your confidence, and your power using the tools of divination, magical works, and spirit connections. It's never too late to embrace a new path and emerge empowered. Go to TexasMojoMan.com and select Contact to begin. There's a message now. Let's get started working on your very good fortune. At Witch Hat Chats, we promote magical knowledge, arts, and music from all cultures. We invite you to join us as our guest to share your practice, especially if your traditions are lesser known. Email us at witchhatchats@gmail.com. Tune in every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our Facebook page. And welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. I'm Saul Ravencraft. I'm here with my colleague, my cohort, Miss Nikki Kirby. We are talking about adversity and dealing with it within our own practices. During the break, I was thinking just a little bit about adversity and what my responses to adversity are, and we can talk about it in sort of the general social attitude and political attitude and that kind of thing, but really I think what counts for us is what we do within our practice. So what are the tools and the ideas that we have as someone who would host or watch Witch Hat Chats to deal with adversity that are especially suited to us? Do you have any thoughts on that, Nikki?
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, first thing you need to do is not take it personally. And because we take everything personally. And like I said, it's never really about us. It's always about them. It's always about them. Just like when you approach somebody, it's really about you and not about the other person. So you have to really understand that concept. There was a book by Dale Carnegie, How to Make Friends. And that book is a very, very good book to really start out, because he tells people you're not there to take things personally when you're interacting with them, because people mainly care about what they want, not what you want, but what they want most of the time. And once you understand that concept, like I said, things get a lot better.
There is one particular story from that book that I want to share because it really impacted me. It's got a lot of different anecdotes, a lot of different ideas, and it's one of those books, the different things are going to hit you at different times. And there was one particular story. He talked about being at a dinner with his mentor, and a man was telling a story, and he was quoting something, and he said it was from the Bible, but actually it was from Shakespeare. And our intrepid hero started to speak up, and his mentor kicked him underneath the table. And the guy shut up and let the other person continue speaking, even though they were wrong. They were completely wrong about the source of that quote. And afterwards, the mentor is asked, "Why did you kick me under the table?" He was wrong. He got that wrong. And his mentor said, yes, he did get it wrong. And if he had thought about it, he probably would have realized that it was the incorrect source. But that's not what his conversation was about. His conversation was about this broader topic, and that was just something he was tossing in as an idea. The source was not the important thing. The idea was the important thing. And you were about to derail that conversation and turn it into a debate about the source of the quote, which you might have won, but the entire conversation would have been derailed and destroyed to have that conversation. And I realized that that is an area that I was especially guilty. In my house, we were raised to challenge when someone misquoted something or misspoke a word or anything like that. It was our chief sport at home. And I realized that I did that with people all the time, and that it was not a good thing. And I had to specifically train myself that when someone misspoke a word or mispronounced something or misquoted something or anything like that, that I would just shut up and let them be wrong, because it was not important. And I find that I have the capacity now to let people be very wrong about things and not necessarily need to fight about it or correct them or challenge them or anything like that, that it's okay that they are wrong, at least in the moment. Because maybe that's not what they're actually talking about. Maybe there's something more important that we either need to agree on or disagree on that I need to be paying more attention to. And that was directly out of How to Win Friends and Influence People. That particular anecdote happened to hit with me in a way that went, oh, that's me, but no one kicks me under the table. Maybe I need to kick myself under the table. So I agree. Fantastic book. The other book I'll toss in there is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, one that I recommend to a lot of people. This specifically looks at these ways in which we may not have our head screwed on straight about the way we're perceiving things, the way we're taking things, and gives tools on how to address that. And one of the tools that is there, there's a whole chapter devoted to it, is don't take things personally. Exactly what you were saying. And it's funny how all of these kinds of things, even someone else's ignorance, we will take personally. When it's not necessarily productive. Sometimes it is productive to challenge someone's ignorance. But a lot of times it's just completely pointless because there's some bigger realm that you got to address that's more important.
Right. It's like I said, you got to choose your battles. And choosing your battles takes a lot of things into consideration. It takes your attitude. It takes the attitude of the other person. It takes what's the energy around it. I mean, is this energy really negative? Is it really toxic? or is it something that you can kind of float and move through and bend and stuff? Is it something like that? Because, for example, the kid that went and killed those people in Buffalo, which really is a tragedy in itself. He believed everything he read on the internet about all of these racist type of things. And you cannot sit there and try to argue with him because he's been so brainwashed about that. Arguing with him is not going to do any good because he was going to go do it anyway. I mean, he had plans to do it to Jews. He had plans to do it to several other different types of minority groups. And although he was wrong, and he still is wrong, unless we do something about the information that is out there, especially for our kids, and start teaching them at home. That's where everything starts, is at the home. How to value things and how to figure out, okay, this, take the good and then just throw away the bad. You know, it's something that we need to be able to learn to do. And kids don't really understand it because they don't have as much life experience as the adults do. And it's just really a shame of what actually happened. You know, I was sitting there telling my mother the other day, you know, it's kind of bad when you can't even go and buy groceries without feeling that you're going to get shot.
Right. Right, and of course we've had a terrible shooting here in Texas, where 21 people killed, plus the gunman. There's a lot of controversy around what has gone on and what sorts of things that were in place were not working, and all kinds of emotion and concern that hits especially close to me. I had my sister-in-law actually taught at the other elementary school several years ago before she retired, and just the idea that hits so close to her circumstances, and then you know, several years ago that could have been her, you know, if it had hit a different school, and you get into discussions with people about this sort of thing where they do take the ideas personally, and I admit I take a lot with this Texas shooting very personally because it does hit so close to home for me. And so when someone is not fully honoring the loss of life that occurred there because they're caught up in the minutia of what they want to advocate, I struggle with keeping my anger in check, and I struggle with having a rational conversation about that. And honestly, what I should do in some of those cases is just not have that conversation right now. But then on the other hand, we can't always do that.
Right.
We have to be able to address something and to confront something, and not let our desire for harmony keep us so far out of the loop that people are able to pass laws and to create conditions that ride all over us. It's a lot harder to undo something than it is to prevent it from happening in the first place. And we have to be active.
Right. You know, there was one in Greenville, South Carolina, which is not that far from me, that happened about 2 months ago. And, you know, a friend of mine and we were talking about the times have changed. so much since we were kids. I remember growing up, the worst thing I had to worry about was a fist fight, maybe a knife, and drugs. That was what I had to worry about. And the thing about it is, most of the time, if we got into a fist fight, it was done, it was over with, and we were friends right afterwards. That was what happened most of the time. But now, you got kids that bring guns to school, and the bullying has actually started to be recognized. Because I remember back when I was a kid, oh, that's just something you have to deal with, honey.
Right.
There's always going to be bullies. You just going to have to learn how to deal with that. That was what I was told a lot of times when I would say something. So I stopped saying anything about the bullies. And I am so blessed that we didn't have social media back then.
Yeah.
Because I can only imagine the bullying that goes on. I can only imagine what they have to teach you now. I mean, they're teaching kids, 5-year-old children, how to survive when there is a shooter in the school, including taking the blood from another dead kid and putting it on you and just being still and acting like you're dead, or putting a kid's body on top of you and acting like you're dead. I can't imagine having to tell a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old. I can't even imagine telling an 18-year-old this.
Right.
Right. Let alone a 5-year-old who 9 times out of 10, the 5-year-old doesn't understand what death actually is quite yet. They don't have the mental capacity to understand that. But yet they're having to grow up so much faster than what we had to do.
Right. And those kinds of things are horrific, and I struggle. I hear people talking about the solution is we create, we make the school more of a fortress. There's only one way in and out, and it is heavily fortified and guarded, and all of that kind of thing. And is that really the way kids need to be growing up? Is that are we now in a world where they have to believe that people are out to kill them every day? Is that actually true? And it's just the idea of a child growing up in that environment and that understanding that they are targeted. I feel like there's got to be some better answers than that. And it's just very, very challenging. It's challenging to come up with the answer that doesn't completely disrupt everything.
Well, they're placing all the blame or all the reaction on the victims. I'm sorry, but my first question was, what does an 18-year-old need with a semi-automatic? Okay, I'm sorry, what does an 18-year-old need with one? What does a 17-year-old need with one? What does a child need with a semi-automatic? There's no reason. You're not going to war. You're not going over to war. No, you don't need a semi-automatic. And they don't teach kids about proper gun control. I remember growing up with guns in the house, but I never, ever, it never crossed my mind to go and play with one of them or to take them to school for God's sakes. No, it never crossed my mind, because we were taught gun safety, and we were taught that when you took a gun and you went to shoot it, you shot to kill. You didn't shoot to maim. You didn't shoot to, to one of these warning shots. You never did that. You shoot to kill. And when you kill somebody, that means that they're no longer, alive. And that takes a lot more mental, psychological, legal, all kinds of stuff. We were taught that. So it would be something that I was never, it never crossed my mind to do that, because we were taught that. We were properly trained. Now, yeah, we went out hunting, but you know what? We were always guided by an adult, and we only used that rifle when the adult said to use it. Not because we were trying to go bing bing and all that. We never did that. It just never crossed our minds to do that.
Well, and so thinking about some of what you said and how we apply that to just adversity in general, because obviously, as much as we would like to, we can't wave a wand and fix this part of the issue in our society as a whole, but we can look at how we deal with it for ourselves and similar issues. And one of the things that I think is very important in what you were saying is talking about not just reacting through anger, not just letting anger channel. I think that's one of the things that with social media and the ways that we are inundated with certain kinds of information, the style in which we interact with that information, is we tend to be very rage driven. On the news, when they want to put some people from different perspectives, they don't present point and counterpoint. They have everybody get on there for about 3 minutes, everybody be as angry as you can at each other, and then we're going to sell a car. And there's no real intention of having a conversation where minds are changed or new information is brought to light. There's not enough time for that. Everybody just yell at each other, and then we'll go to commercial. Education, I think, is another aspect of that is so important. We can't act out of ignorance. And we should always be challenging ourselves as to whether or not we actually know what we think we know. It's never too late to read another book. It's never too late to get more information. It's never too late to listen to someone giving a different perspective and see if there's anything at all from where they're coming from that helps you understand better why they think what they think, and whether or not there's something to it. Even a stopped clock is right twice a day.
Right.
And we get into this mode, and I think this is something that especially magical practitioners should be very, very careful about, because of what we do, and that is engaging in prejudice. That is engaging in labeling of things. Right. You are this, therefore this is where you're coming from, and this is how I must respond to you. Yes, people are painted with the brush of what they do. You and I, as magical practitioners, are painted with a certain brush by people that consider that to be verboten. I've had people that automatically classify me as evil, as satanic, as someone who has to be eliminated because they find out that I have a sincere interest in magical practice. And that is, at the same time, I have to not completely judge them because of their own belief system and their own practice. I got to somehow keep myself fluid with all of that, because there are organizations that are very problematic for our spirituality. And yet some of these same organizations in other aspects help take care of poor people and provide medicine to the sick and do a lot of good. And that those aren't those aren't all mingled together, and yet they're not completely separated. And I think that we as magical practitioners and people that are spiritually witchy, we got to be real careful about the judgments we pass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard, especially if you've been raised like I am as a white male that says, you know, when something's broken, you dominate it and fix it. You don't just let it be and let it run its course, because I mean, we got to draw the line somewhere, right? We gotta we can't be on a slippery slope, right? And all those other stupid things that white guys say to explain why they have to come in and swagger about and own things. I have to check myself on that. And know, is this a situation where I am actually defending a weakness, I am actually righting a wrong, or am I just dominating because I'm the only one that gets to exist?
Right. Another book that I actually recommend is called The 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class by Stephen Siebold. And in this book, all the chapters are like 1 to 2 pages, but he tells you what the way that world class thinks, the 5%. And one of the things that he says is that champions know adversity is the catalyst of mental toughness. And he means that adversity to the world-class performers is their mental training ground. This is where they learn to become mentally tough. And the average person scores adversity. So those of the world class don't welcome adversity, yet it is seen as the ultimate catalyst for mental growth, as well as a catalyst as to be contrast needed to reorganize the beauty of life. It's one of those things, and he's got all these different types of things. He goes into a paragraph explaining what he means by that, and then he goes into what you can do in order to impose on or to prevent action on that thing. And a lot of these things it teaches you how to become more of your authentic self. I mean, he's even has it in here, the world class grow up. We become adults. We're not kids, so we're not going, all right? And it helps you to actually learn how to deal a lot with difficult people. It helps you how to learn how to deal with yourself and how you react to these certain situations, because we're not always going to be able to educate everybody. Like Saul said, we're not always going to be able to do, a whole lot of things when it comes to adversity. Saul was saying, well, what about if you're doing a workshop and somebody's trying to take over? Well, what you can do is you can turn around and ask them, say, okay, I understand that your point of view is very important to you, but they come to listen to me and we can actually have a conversation afterwards. Something kind of nice. I know that kind of sounds very snotty, but that's the way I am. I'm very straightforward. I'm just that type of person. But that's a way of being able to handle it, because basically you gave that person their 5 seconds of fame, and that's basically what they wanted. And then you let them know, hey, I'll talk to you afterwards. And a lot of times they won't even come up to you afterwards. I have yet to have a person to come up to me afterwards and say, well, you're wrong about this and you're wrong about that. You can't really believe that you're going to be right about everything, because we are all different. We all have different opinions. We all have different experiences. We all have different ways of thinking and doing things. So there's not always that one way, because that's a mainstream religious viewpoint, is what that is.
This reminds me of an image that I saw that I was able to dig up, and it shows the Buddha talking, and someone comes up and confronts him, and he says, "What's the secret to everlasting happiness? To not argue with fools." "But I don't agree with you." "Yes, you are right." And
Yep.
I think one of the things that is important, and specifically for magical practitioners, specifically for people that are on our path, and it goes back to the divination that you did at the beginning of the program, is that our power comes from within. There are some people's path that is purely petitionary. They don't get to manifest anything. All they are permitted to do is to ask. It's purely a parental situation, and they don't grow up. They remain children, and they always have to ask for whatever they want. And if the answer is no, the answer is no. And a key difference to someone who takes on a practice, a magical practice, is that you become more responsible for your own outcomes and your own manifestations. The answer is not going to be no. The answer is going to be, well, this is what it's going to take. And we either accept that and we devote what is necessary to bring it about, or we go, okay, well, I'm not willing to do that, therefore that's just not going to happen. But it's not on some other parental figure to decide that for us. It's about what we're willing to put into it. And so we have to understand that outside judgments and outside perspectives, while we got to consider those things on some level, that doesn't decide what our outcome is, because we have the ability to pour ourselves into it in order to manifest what we want. And that is a really powerful thing. That's an amazing thing. It's one of the things that attracts me to this path, is the idea that it's up to me more than anyone what I'm going to manifest. Mm-hmm. Now, I sometimes suck at it. And I don't want to be in charge, and I don't want to do what I have to do. I want Santa to bring it to me. And yet, when we take on this path, we take on that responsibility, and we have to own it, and we have to own it every day. And the advantage of that is that society or even what's immediately around us, our upbringing and all that, doesn't define what is possible for us. We define that much more, but it can be difficult to own that every day. It's a lot easier to just go, well, they are just, social media is making it so hard for me to think my own thoughts. Damn social media. It just, but we still have to own it.
Well, here's the conclusion that we're going to arise to from that. Take responsibility for your own damn shit. And with that, we need to go to the witch's cabinet. On today's witch's cabinet, we're going to do a tarot spell with Saul Ravencraft.
Well, I have been thinking throughout our conversation about ways to focus on our own inner power and our own ability to manifest what we need and to send that vibration out. And so this spell is going to be very focused on personal energies. And you are always welcome to transform anything that we do to fit your own requirements, your own practice. If you feel that there are entities that you want to bring in and call upon to participate in this, if there are differences in how you want to create your sacred space, or even the elements that are used here, you are always free to make those changes and those adjustments. This is my suggestion as to the kind of approach to take. And you're welcome to copy it exactly or change it up however you wish. We will be focused on personal manifestation energies. And I tend to think of the balance between the lunar and the solar, the male and the female aspects, primarily as how we approach a solution. And sometimes we need to pour more of one kind of energy into things, but in general we need to be balanced enough so that we can call upon any aspect of that when it's necessary. So what I'm going to use with the tarot cards is intended to be very balanced in what we're doing. So the energy we'll be working with is the lunar energy, represented by the moon. I'm using the Robin Wood Tarot deck, which is my favorite. We have the solar energy, which is represented by the sun. No big surprise there. And then the male energy, the male manifesting energy, which is also connected with solar energy, is represented by the magician. I love the magician that Robin Wood uses here. This is such a virile, sexy magician, and that's what I want to be. And then we have the high priestess that represents the female and the lunar energy. And you can see how all of those are balanced together. And what I'm doing is I am arranging them on my table in this format, where I have the lunar up to the north, I guess you would say. The sun is to the south, connects with that fire energy in a way that I like. The magician is here to the, actually I want to rearrange those. I put them down backwards. The magician is here to the east, connected with that air energy. And I think the infinity symbol on this card speaks nicely of that. And the high priestess is here in the west with that water energy, which connects nicely. Now we have a space in the middle where we can put whatever it is that we choose. I like to use cards from the major arcana from this. So for example, here we have the card of strength. I might use that if I was trying to deal with my own apparent lack of will or power in a situation and trying to find my own inner strength. Here we have the Hierophant. You might use that if you were trying to connect with authority. If I wanted to do spell work that was particularly pointed toward the government or a religious body or something like that, I would probably use that. Here we have the Devil, and again, I love the way that Robin Wood approaches this, dealing with distraction and temptation and things that keep us from holding our will and doing what it is that we need to do. Justice. True justice for the cause. Now remember, justice is not fairness. Justice is about honoring the promises and honoring the agreements. And sometimes the agreements themselves are not fair, are not just, and have to be addressed. Death. Dealing with transformation. I might use this if I was struggling to deal with someone's death. But also our own thresholds where the door locks behind us and we emerge transformed, the caterpillar becoming the moth. The Wheel of Fortune, I think, is an excellent one to put in here. When we're dealing with things that are out of our control and we have to open ourselves to risk in the best possible way. Judgment. Again, I love what Robin Wood does with this. It is a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm guessing that you approve of that approach as well, Nikki. You being very phoenix driven there. But this is very much about looking at our ability to rise up out of what's going on and to become. The Tower. Maybe you're dealing with some shit. Maybe you've got to accept something that is coming, or be in something that is coming. You can't wave your wand and make Russia stop attacking your country. But you can put yourself in the Tower and deal with what that circumstance is for yourself or for others. Lovers. This is a very common thing for people to worry about, bringing love into their life, body, mind, and spirit. And again, I love the interpretation here. A lot of the versions of the lovers that I see is just a little anemic, like the old Love Is cartoons. They just want to hold hands, and these lovers are going to get busy. They're beautiful and sexy and fully functional. I think that that's something we got to be honest about if we're trying to bring love into our life. And then there's two cards that I'm going to combine today. Here is Temperance, which is about achieving balance. You'll notice that the angel is juggling, because the reality of Temperance is there's always a ball in the air. Things are always in motion. We're never going to get the balance right forever. And I think that's very important to remember. And then we have the Chariot. And the Chariot is very much about movement. The Chariot, one of the things that I draw from the Chariot is a lot about how you travel. Right? You can be the kind of traveler that's going to go all the way to China and eat at McDonald's. Or you can be the kind of traveler that opens yourself up to what that culture has to teach you and what that culture has to offer you. And that is the difference between cultural information and cultural appropriation. When you allow yourself to be open to a culture and to love those people and be loved by them, then it changes you. And you can't take that back. That's going to be a transformation forever. You do come back with new tastes and new understandings and new rituals and new customs that you were given by that visit. Or you can go and just try to make everything be like it is at home. And you can guess which one I think is more productive. So the Chariot, I think, is very important for dealing with diversity and self-transformation based on that diversity. So for today, I think with what we're dealing with right now, balance is something that we need to achieve. Things are way, way out of balance, and we need to be informed by diversity in culture, in race, in sex, in experience, and to allow ourselves to both freely express our own perspectives and our own cultures, but also to be able to encounter what we are given from others and to find where that common ground is, even if it means that we are transformed. And in the hope that people that encounter our side of things will also be transformed by it. So let's place these two cards in the center of our circle, if you will. I guess it's more of an oval to keep it in frame. We can spread this out just a touch. There we go. Now, if you want to do a formal invocation, that's fine. I normally, when I do things, will call upon the spirits of the north, south, east, and west, and the elements that are connected with those. So I will do that very briefly here. I call upon the spirit of north, the spirit of earth, to provide grounding and a foundational nurturing to the work that we do here today. I call upon the spirit of the east, the spirit of air. I invite you to be here in this circle and to help us to deal with the chaos and the immenseness of all the things that we cannot control. I invite the spirit of the south, the spirit of fire, to join us in this circle and to help us to bring about that transformative energy and that cleansing energy that fire represents. I call upon the spirit of the west, the spirit of water. I invite you to join us in this circle and to help us to be fluid, to flow, and to bring that energy of cleansing and healing that gently moves us into a new direction. I call to the spirit of the moon, and I ask you to bring your mysterious silvery light to us that shows things hidden in shadow. It shows us things not as they are, but as they may be. It is filled with secrets and uncertainties, which is fine. We welcome that spirit here. I call to the spirit of the sun, the bright light that nourishes and provides energy for everything on this planet, that dispels the shadows and brings everything into sharp, sometimes even harsh light that reveals everything. I call upon the spirit of the magician, that solar energy, that male energy, that energy that is driven by will and by our capability of holding our vision and making it so. I call upon the spirit of the high priestess, that fluid, harmonious energy that allows us to deal with things the way they are, not as they are supposed to be. I ask these energies all to come together for us and to help us to manifest what it is that we need. Within this circle, I lay the cards of Temperance to help us seek balance between all people, between all spiritual paths, between all philosophies, between all races, between all peoples, between the sexes, the male, the female, and the fluid. I call upon us to find that balance and to accept that this balance is never permanently achieved, that the future is always a series of nows, and that we must allow ourselves to change with the time, just as the landscape changes with the time, just as the riverbed changes with the time, just as all the earth changes with time. So we must allow ourselves to move and grow and transform as is necessary, that all things have their time and place, and all those times and places are eventually lost to history. I call upon the energy of the Chariot, that energy which helps us to open ourselves to diversity and to encounter other cultures, other ideas, other experiences, other forms, other understandings, and to let those things teach us about our own experience, our own form, our own understanding. Let us take a moment and let this formation vibrate through us as we send ripples out into the universe and ask for the change that is necessary to help us create true balance and true love throughout our world. So mote it be.
So might it be.
I give thanks to the Spirit of the West, the Spirit of Water, for joining us today in this circle, for lending your energy and your attention to our intentions. Stay or linger as you will. Hail and farewell. I thank the Spirit of the South, the Spirit of Fire, for lending your attention and energy to our intentions this day. Stay or linger as you will. Hail and farewell. I give thanks to the Spirit of the East, the Spirit of Air, for lending your attention to our work this day. Stay or linger as you will. Hail and farewell. I give thanks to the Spirit of the North, the Spirit of Earth, for lending your energy to our attention this day. Stay or linger as you will. Hail and farewell. It is done. It is done. It is done. And let us see what comes
nice.
about as people participate in that, as people draw that into their own practice. I will tell you that we talked about the blood moon rituals that we participated in, and I have seen action come out of my blood moon ritual. Stuff has been happening. Things have been bubbling up. I've had people calling me out of the blue wanting to have conversations about possibilities. There is just a whole other energy flowing underneath it. And I have work to do. I have to I can't just sit around waiting for things to come. They're coming. And now I have to address them and I have to deal with them. And so I want to tell everyone, when you do this stuff, even if the ritual is very informal, and for me, that blood moon ritual was pretty much sitting there in a rocking chair, smoking a cigar and talking to the moon. And these other entities that surround me and inform me and uphold me. And it took about a week for stuff to start to happen, but I keep getting new connections, new contact, new interactions with people that are different from what I've had in the past. And even on the simple level of hey, you and I seem to be in the same universe. Let's have a coffee. And they go, yeah. And it gets on the calendar. Bang. And will that become business? Will that become, who knows what it'll become? But it becomes connection. out of isolation. So, so I want to tell you folks, if you play with any of this, and it should be play, it should be done with a spirit of openness and play and imagination. Careful what you wish for, because it's going to happen.
And that's right. Mm-hmm. And that's right. And that's all for our show today. Join us next week when Saul and I will be chatting about midsummer. We want to thank our first responders, essential workers, and medical workers for all of your passion and dedication and what you are doing in this fight to win in this pandemic. We absolutely, truly appreciate all of you. So, ladies, we need to keep fighting for our rights. I'm sorry, but they're not supposed to be forcing religion upon us, and they're not supposed to be telling us what we can do with our bodies. And we need to stand up and fight for those. Also, make sure you wear a mask and get your vaccinations and boosters. And keep your fuzzy babies, your family, and yourself safe. And have an absolute marvelous week.
I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk. Nikki Kirby with that black stone. I agree, Evermoving We Rise. Laughing soul will the beautiful mind. I give you blessings under moonlight. I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk.